You know, when I look at Shinku, I wonder whether it's the horns, the tail, the tight stockings, or the loose shirt that maybe want to pull for her. That's right, Mint's coworker has finally arrived. And in this video, I am gonna showcase Shinku and explain how she works, while at the same time, I'll also talk about her best build I went for and share my first impressions of this alluring belly button S-rank agent. Okay, so to start things off, here's my Shinku build you can copy, since this will be the recommended build by every content creator. She's equipped with her signature arc Blushing Mirage, but as you can see from this table of weapons ranking, it's roughly 13% better than fully refined Fluff of Ferocity, which you can obtain from the Battle Pass. Otherwise, there's also Camellia Society, A Time Will Come, or if you pulled for Chaos's signature arc, you can use What's Desired. Anyway, next we have the modules and stats. The most obvious set to use on Shinku, of course, is the Lost Radiance set. The cartridge has critical rate main stat, and in majority of cases, this is the best main stat to go for. And then as you can see, she benefits from type 3 modules by getting 16% crit damage. And with this grid layout, she essentially can equip 4 type 3 modules, resulting in 64% extra crit damage, which is really nice. Oh, and yeah, the substats to go for would be critical rate, critical damage, damage percent, attack percent, and then lastly, flat attack. Keep in mind, you can slightly overcap her crit rate if you max out her bond, have Hathor on the team, and every single module contains critical rate. In this case, it's fine if one of those modules don't have critical rate and something like damage percent instead. Alright, finally, all of her abilities are maxed out. I highly recommend first maxing basics, then ultimate, then skill, and finally support. Oh, and yeah, in this video, she will be showcased with 0 awakenings. However, and I really want to emphasize this, because Shinku has been going through a lot of changes since her release in China, there are some things that are a little different on this media server, which I will point out when needed, although majority of things here are accurate, but as always, take this video with a grain of salt because final content is subject to change. Anyway, so what does she actually do? Well, half of her kit is simple, and the other half, not so much. Basically, she's a main DPS character who benefits a lot from Blossom and more importantly, charge reactions. Now, some of the terminology may differ from the global version at the time of me making this video, but essentially, she has this really unique mechanic called Gaze, which stacks up while she's on field, but only when she does not attack any enemies. On top of that, if she dodges but does not dodge counter attack, she also gains some of these stacks. With 0 awakenings, she can achieve at most 8 Gaze stacks, and then when she delivers any kind of attack, she will consume these stacks and deal big damage, but more importantly, she will gain a ton of S per cycle gauge. Keep in mind though, and this is very important, if you ever swap out, you also lose all Gaze stacks on Shinku, unless you unlock her first resonance effect, which requires 3 extra dupes of her. You can see a bunch of details on the screen how the Gaze stacks work, but long story short, you easily max them out outside combat, and you can even wait around in the Beyond the Rails stage for the stacks to build up before engaging in combat. Remember, the more Gaze stacks are consumed, the better the damage, the more S per cycle gauge obtained, and I believe more ultimate energy gained as well. Alright, so that was the complex part. Next we have basic attacks, which unleashes 5-hit combo, nothing too special about them, and same goes for the skill. Just tap it to deal damage, although interestingly enough, the skill has a super short 3-second cooldown. Okay, back to complex stuff again, and I am talking about her ultimate. When you use it, she becomes a super sexy demon for 13 seconds, and during this time, her basic attacks become different, and she gains access to a super skill, which you can fill it up in various ways. Now, the super skill is quite important to use because it deals a lot of damage, and main ways to fill it up is by using her basics during ultimate. However, consuming around 3 stacks of Gaze also fills it up, and on top of that, charge reaction also helps fill it up. Usually in her best team with Nunnally, she can unleash around 5 super skills before the ultimate expires. Next, during the last seconds of her ultimate, you can press the ultimate button to perform these dash attacks, which can be done up to 3 times, and the damage is really good. So practice makes perfect, meaning try and always land all 3 of these dashes. Finally, when the ultimate's duration ends, or just by pressing the ultimate button, she will shoot out a big ol' laser at the enemy, although as impressive as it looks, the damage is kinda meh. But yeah, besides this, her first passive states Charge Reaction now gives energy to whole team and deals extra damage when Shinku is on field. Plus, every time charge happens, she gains an attack buff stacking up to 10 times. In a nutshell, utilizing this passive is super important, and this is why she works best in charged teams. Now, her second passive helps her deal more damage to non-boss enemies, and lastly, her first life skill provides benefits for cafe management, and then second life skill improves efficiency of Mahjong minigame when it comes to spending city stamina. Oh, and yeah, if you hold down the dash button, she turns into a demon, and you can run around quite fast in the city. In fact, you can even wall run, but not wall jump. Although I will say exploration with her becomes much faster. And that's pretty much her entire kit. Next, let's talk about her best team and how her rotations look like. Alright, so currently one of her best teams to play includes Zero, then Hathor or Skia, and then Nunnally or Juan or Mint. Let's go through each of them quickly, and starting with Zero. If by now you didn't know, Zero is super important here to help trigger Esper cycles quickly, since her skill immediately fills up her Esper gauge. You really need Zero in this team, otherwise triggering Blossom and Remora in quick succession to produce multiple charge reactions becomes way too difficult. So Shinku badly needs Zero, and they also have the same power of their skin-tight suits. Next, we have Hathor, who is there to extend Remora's duration and improve critical rate by 10% while the enemy is affected by Remora. Her sub DPS is fine, but she's mostly there to just enhance Remora reaction. On the other hand, there's also Skia, and this furry guy is quite interesting because you can run him with Speedy Set and also equip him with Sakuri's signature arc, Good Boy's Grand Adventure, because his ultimate can fully satisfy the arc's passive requirements. And the thing about Shinku teams, there aren't that many buffs you can utilize, so Skia can act as a decent way to improve Shinku's personal DPS. Plus, his own Remora enhancement supposedly helps extend it long enough because, as a reminder, you do need enemies affected by Remora to receive damage from Blossom to count it as charge trigger. Lastly, there's Anima teammates, and the best one ends up being Nunnally. To put it simply, Nunnally reduces the intervals between each Blossom down to 1 second instead of 2, which lines up with charge reaction internal cooldown of 1 second. On the other hand, Juan doubles Blossom hits, but since they are fired at the same time, charge reactions internal cooldown still counted as 1. So in the end, you produce roughly 2 times less charge reactions with Juan compared to Nunnally. So yeah, who would have thought that Nunnally can be the better choice to enable Shinku? Otherwise, there's also Mint, but yeah, she's about as good as Juan, honestly just because of those charge reaction limitations. Alright, lastly, here's an example rotation. Keep in mind, this is early recommendation, and it's possible once more people get their hands on Shinku, we can discover better rotations. But yeah, start with Shinku and build up her gaze to max before entering combat. Then use her skill and wait around once more without attacking until she roughly has 4 gaze stacks, then use her skill again, which now should have filled Shinku's Esper gauge fully, so this means swap to Hathor and trigger Remora, then use her ultimate and skill, then swap to Zero, use her ultimate and skill, then by swapping to Nunnally, you trigger Blossom, which starts charge reaction, but don't forget to use her ultimate and skill. Just tap them. Don't stay on field with Nunnally, because we want to finally swap to Shinku, trigger her ultimate, and spam her basics and super skill whenever it's ready. And then within final moments of the ultimate, mash her ultimate button to do up to 3 of those dash attacks, and finish everything off when she fires her laser. And yeah, there you go. That's how Shinku works in a team like this one. Similarly, if you use Skia instead of Hathor, just use his ultimate and skill just like with Hathor after triggering Remora. They are pretty similar to each other in terms of how rotation looks like. Anyway, pretty simple stuff. So let's talk about my thoughts next. So, what do I think about Shinku? Well, I'm gonna showcase all of her costumes here as I'm yapping because, man, Hada Studios are definitely showing a lot of love when it comes to how many different costumes Shinku has, and how great they look. But yeah, so the thing about Shinku is that right now she feels a little clunky, and the fact that yet again we need Zero for those instant cycles is a bit of a bummer because basically all Blossom teams need it, and even a few other different team comps. I also have to mention gaze stacks because they are removed when you swap out, and this can be annoying if you do it on accident, and it's a little sad that you only get to keep them around if you obtain 3 more copies of Shinku and enable her first resonance effect. I mean, it's not a total deal breaker, but at A0, she performs decently enough to be on par with other top DPS units. There's also some other shenanigans, like one of her awakenings improving her super armor so she does not get interrupted anymore during ultimate, so overall, quite a few quality quality of life changes are locked behind awakenings, although I'd say the time I spent with her at A0 seemed quite fine, and I also really like her dash in open world. It just felt really fast to explore things, and with the gaze stacks maxed out, engaging every combat in open world led to really quick disposal of the enemies. So yeah, Shinku is not super broken at A0, and you can also use her on the new bike, which is pretty cool. Anyway, hope you found the video useful, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.